understand that. So maybe do it like we have three different view. So duplicate the container. Match here. Okay. Container one, container one, container two. Big medium. That's how we modify this one with the graphic. Then big is blue. Here also blue. And then the two. So this is magenta. Okay. Yeah, this will be more or less. This is number one. Middle. And then you go to the okay. So here again, so we don't have to do we don't have to use the if anymore, but we use the table. Okay. And then based on the table that you can send the product to the destination that we want. So imagine that you have the big system, a lot of bill of material need to be sent in different location. And then when you change the system, you don't have to go to the method and then rewrite the whole logic. And then what you need to keep in mind is that you have the table. And then when you update the schedule, update the work plan, and then when you just need to open the table, change here. So for example, maybe here, now we go to 3, and this is go to 4, and this is go to 5. We don't have 5, but we have here 2, and that's it. And then we can have the different behavior of the system without open the method and then redesign the logic of the method and then recode the method. We can keep the coding the same, and then we just change the data in the data table. Okay, again, so this is the first digit is the column. You can use it as a number, or you can use the label, because that I activate the table, so you can use here this destination. Okay, here destination. This is not the data, this is just the label of this column. Okay, and then save the method, or you can use the number. Okay, so again, working with table is very convenient. If you have to manage, or if you have to maintain or do the maintenance update model frequently according to the work schedule, according to the work plan, and then you just design a good Excel table, and then you can actually accept to also the Excel table or the table here, uh, just like you have the column and then you have the row, and then you need to know, okay, first the name of the object, so it means the name of the table file, and then after that, column first, row number. That's it. And even that we can have more uh, level of the table. For example, here I create one more column, 2, and this column is it's not a string, and then it's become another table. Okay, and then I say here, for example, description or as technical description, technical data. Okay, and then inside technical data, and I have another table, and then I'll have here the length. Okay, and then the width. Okay, then I have here the depth. Diff, then maybe weight, kilogram. Okay, and then supplier. Okay, all of the information here. So it's not a string. And yeah, you can change here the data type, and then we have many different level, and then how to access to such kind of data table. Maybe new method. Okay, activate the control here. So here, for example, I want to access the data table. First, of course, you need to write the name of the table that you want to access. Square bracket, not the normal bracket. This is for method. And then for data table, it needs to be square bracket. And then here, the first is the column, the second is the row number. Okay, so technical data, so belong to row number, column number 2, row number 1. So it's become column number 2, row number 1. Okay, so this is a table. And then because it's a table, so it will return a table. And then you need to access to this one. Okay, so this means you have another square bracket. Okay, for example, I want to access to the weight a kilogram of the part, the small part, and that is become row number 4, no, column number 4, row number 1. Okay, and then maybe that print out it 1, F7, okay, F5, and then you see kilogram. Okay, it means that a lot of data that you can store, and then inside a table, and then in the table you can have many layers. Have many data layer. Okay, and how to access it? Okay, first the name of the object, and then from one layer will have 2 dimensions, column and row. The first digit is the column, the second digit is the row, and then this is first level, second level, and so on. Okay, do you have any question?
Can you do it again?
Do what? The simulation model, the table.
The table, yes.
So here, so this is the data table. So this is need to be done manually. You set up the data table with the correct data. Okay, input. This is your data.
How you set the row, the string row?
Okay, you right click here, and then you select format, And here you can have the data type, and then how many row and column that you want to have, and for specific column, and then you can set up the format. So here I choose object because the destination should be the object. I want to send the mu to the object. So here in the here E2, E4, E3 is the object. So this is station. So that's why I need to select here object. I cannot use here format the default setup, which is string. And then if I do this method will have the error. And then of course the destination must be the material object. Okay. And then because the output from this table return you a string, E3 is the letter character or the character, and it's not accept to the move function. So that's the reason why we need to change here into object. E3 is an object, not the letter E3. Okay, but the object E3 in the simulation model. Yeah, and then by doing this method is valid. Then you can run it. So
for
again,
the column, I okay, but the row, how we set the string row
so
about
here,
the yeah,
yep, on the menu list, there
yeah,
is the column index and the row index. Okay,
yeah,
and then you can activate the column index and the row index. Okay, here the index is just a label of the data. So here this is a destination, and here is the size. Here is small, right? And then
okay,
medium. Okay, and then here is big. Okay, and you see
yeah,
the add dot name. The add dot name now is equal to medium. So it means that it will go to this line and then take this value E4.
yeah,
S is mu, dot name is the name, and because the name where we define the name of it, we define a name of it through this table. When you generate something, you put the name to the mu, and then when it flow to here, this method will take the name of the mu and searching in the table to find the correct data. Okay,
yeah,
and
okay,
return back to the method. Okay, then to save, run. Of course, so as I said, so there is many different way to do same behavior, but of course, so this is that you need yeah, just a single line of code, but then you need to set up a lot of click and set up the data. Okay, need to create the data, format the table, manually input the data in, and then you do it once, and then you can reuse it many other time as long as you keep the same structure of the model, but just change the logic of distribution or sorting rule, and then you can modify the table rather than modify the code.
yeah, okay, okay.
Okay, then yeah. So I think this is most basic about uh, simulation that you should know. The first thing is of course basic modeling with so with station with brain, and then set up the processing time, set up the reaction. So reaction with the certain amount or with the distribution uh, every 1 minute, every 5 minutes, or every randomly between 1 to 5 minutes. Okay, this is all about basic setup of the simulation, and then you know how to do it, how to programming. Programming will allow you to create more and more behavior of the system to shift the part from here to there. So follow your own logic, and then you know how to work with transporter. You know how to work with conveyor. It's very easy. It's just uh, more detail about transportation rather than just using the connector. And then now you can have rather than a connector, the connector again don't have any transportation time, but you input the conveyor. So transfer from one place to another place will need a certain amount of time for transfer from one place to another place. This means your simulation model somehow closer to your reality. You can check the collision when you're shipping many things within your system, and then you know how to work with data table, and then you know to work with sensor trigger method with a certain event uh, entrance or the exit, and then or in something in between with sensor. And then also in the document, they also have the trigger. Uh, I mean this one, the one that I just show you. So here, the generator, not the generator. The generator is will trigger the method in a certain time that you want. So I think that there is the one exercise in the document also introduce this object. Okay, so again, so we have three ways to trigger the method: by name, reset, init, or nc. This means that this method is triggered by name. And then the second is the very common that you connect the method to the object and then use the mobile object to trigger the method. Okay, or you use the generator to trigger the method with interval time point every 1 second, every 2 seconds. When you trigger the first time, when you last trigger the method, okay, with the start and the stop interval, you can define the specific point in time that you want to trigger a method. Okay, so this is the most three common way that you can call or trigger the method. And then the last thing that you know is about the stochastic. Of course, in real system, there is not always the fixed number or the fixed data that you can input. You work normally with the random value, with the normal distribution, with the triangle distribution, and such all kind of this belong to the stochastic model. And how to deal with the stochastic model, you need to run your simulation model several times. And how to do it, you do it not by click the button reset and play button button move and play several times, but you can do it with the experiment manager. Okay, and that's it. So that is a very basic, the most thing that you should know for working with the plant simulation. And then I think that more or less that you, if you practice, of course, you need some time to practice more exercise, more projects. But the basic idea on of the thing that is that have you build more or less on a kind of production system will be done carry within the city 62, right? 62 exercises in the book. Yeah. And then of course, yeah, so maybe now is a time for you to practice by yourself in your breakout room. Again, I will have you out with the exercise that you cannot complete, or you have any question you can ask. And then maybe this is a last practice about the exercises. Next week